Hi, everyone, and welcome to Perfect Prey, a Coercive Control podcast. I'm glad you're here. My name is Dr. Christine Marie Cocchiola, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker and have a doctorate in clinical social welfare, where I researched coercive control and the impact on both adult and child victims. Most importantly, I am a survivor and a protective parent. Victims and survivors of coercive control are never to blame, but I chose the name Perfect Prey because coercive controller, narcissistic abusers are individuals who seem to have characterologically disordered personalities, and they do choose who to prey upon. They choose people who tend to be agreeable and conscientious, perhaps loyal to a fault, fixers, optimistic, and empathic. And these coercive controllers prey upon those who are most vulnerable, including our children. It's part of their plan to gain control. How do we help our children when they are experiencing systematic, unacknowledged child abuse? We need to understand how these coercive controllers, harmful individuals, predatory parents attempt to exert their power over us and our children. We need to look beyond a trauma-informed lens, but also layer it with a coercive control lens. So, let's engage in personal power conversations that will create the protective parts that will derail the coercive controller from their plan. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my podcast, Perfect Prey. I'm so glad you're here. If you're listening, watching this on YouTube, thank you again. Please remember to subscribe, download, share this information with other people. I truly believe that there are so many people who are suffering experiences of coercion and control, and they don't even know it. And when I say this, I also mean our children. Children grow up in family systems and they rely on their parents as a biological need, an innate need. And they also expect their parents to take care of them, right? So they're always looking, they're seeking that unconditional love. Children of coercive control don't grow up in that circumstance. And oftentimes, because the protective parent is in some ways betrayed by the predatory parent to the children actually begin to believe that neither parent is truly safe. Now, let me be clear. They don't always behave as if neither parent is safe. Oftentimes, when this abuse is occurring and it's more covert, coercive control can be overt or covert, but when it's more covert, what can happen is that children, because they can't see it, it's not tangible, you can't see it, it's not tangible, children can be easily indoctrinated into this false narrative. And the false narrative is that that other parent, the predatory parent, doesn't feel unsafe. They don't know in their bodies that every child should feel like they can be themselves, that they are loved as themselves, that they have unconditional positive regard, that they can be authentic. They can actually say no when they want to say no and say yes when they want to say yes. That nobody is the love that they are receiving is again totally unconditional, that nobody is requiring them to behave a certain way, yet these children grow up in a different circumstance. I do call it broken brain because these kiddos are suffering in a way that nobody can see. And if they had come home with maybe 1,000 paper cuts or 5 paper cuts, when they walked in the door, we would say, what happened here? Something happened. But when they walk in the door and they're dysregulated, and we are trauma victims, and they take their dysregulation out on us, then we are often sitting in a space of our own dysregulation. And we can't really visualize what they've experienced. So let's talk a little bit about what this predatory parent does when they are with our children. For those of you listening and you're saying, well, I don't know what she's talking about, or I suffered alienation and she never talks about that. We are talking about the same thing. Okay, I just prefer to come from a place of using fracturing of attachment. Every child deserves to grow up in a family system where they have the opportunity for secure attachment. And I guarantee that if you are listening and you're a protective parent, your child had that from you. The moment you held that baby in your arms, the moment you had that baby in utero, that baby had that from you. The problem is the predatory parent does not want the child to have that with you. They have envy. They also know what matters most to you. And of course, what matters most to you is your relationship with your beautiful child. And so, for the first few, what we know about attachment is they say it's formed in the first few years of life. And it is, except that what we don't talk about is that it can also be fractured a lot in the first few years of life if there's an abuser, if there's a predatory parent in the family system.
Hi, everyone. Are you seeking enhanced knowledge and a certification supporting victims, survivors of coercive control? Do you acknowledge that all too often the systems are failing to do this, and most importantly, failing to prioritize the physical and psychological safety of children? Maybe you are a court professional, an attorney, a guardian ad litem, a custody evaluator, an advocate. Whatever work you are doing, if you are a therapist, we need a sea of allies. Right now, this training offers 12 CEs for anybody who completes it, and also it has reciprocity to other mental health professional certifications. I do hope you'll join me. I offer it live periodically throughout the year, at least several times, and also offer it self-study. Again, I hope to see you there. We need a sea of allies.
I always say, day one, the moment that you hold that baby in your arms, there are several reactions that the abusive, the predatory parent is having. The coercive controller, the narcissistic abuser, call them what you may. I always say they are immediately filled with shame because they realize they cannot love like you love. They don't have the ability. They do not have the wherewithal to love in such an amazingly implicit, unconditional way. That's number one. Number two, there may be a threat. That child, that baby is going to take attention away from me. I don't like that. I don't want that child to take attention away from me. Some of you share these stories with me where the predatory parent will be jealous if you're nursing or feeding the baby, or if you are, out taking a walk with the baby or having fun giving the baby a bath. The predatory parent tries to sabotage that. They don't like that. They become jealous. That's one reaction. Another one is that, man, they act like this baby is literally God, like literally God. And they are so mesmerized and in love with this child that this child, in many ways, replaces their love and affection for you. And so it feels like from the outside looking in, they are an amazing parent. Oh my God, they love their children so much. They give them baths, they play on the floor with them, they don't get irritated as easily. Maybe they don't do as much of the care of the child, but they certainly do enough that it seems like they are extremely endearing to this baby and really prioritize this baby. And if you complain, if you are the protective parent and you are like, wait a minute, well, what about me? Or can we go out on a date? Or, I thought this was our special time. If you complain, then you are seen as envious, jealous, sick, not well, whatever it is. So that might be the third reaction that the abuser has. So one, this idea that they cannot love that way. Two, this threat, this child is something to be jealous of, something that's going to replace me in my object, meaning the victim's life. And or three, the child becomes very objectified. And in those two, kind of, it's one or the other. Usually it can be a little mix of each two, depending on how well these abusers perform. They might perform in front of family, that they're in love with these children. If their children get sick, they are like devastated, which of course we would all be but I mean it's like almost they're sick instead of the child is sick, right? And so I have someone very close to me, their child was very sick as a child, and the abuser just literally made it all about them, right? And so one, two, and three, and then four is this idea that I know what matters more to you. Predatory parent knows what matters more to you than anything in the world, and that is this beautiful baby. And so I in my head have it that if I ever have to do anything to further control you. So we talk about what coercive control is, right? Coercive control is, a lot of people conflate it and they say it's psychological abuse. It's not just psychological abuse, it's the underpinning of all abuse. And so if I am a person who is exerting power and control over you, diminishing you, taking away your agency. Maybe there's verbal assaults, maybe there isn't. There's gaslighting, manipulation, intimidation, and isolation. And it's happening intermittently so that you really aren't clear if it's abuse, because again, you haven't perhaps suffered physical violence. Now, many of my clients do suffer physical violence. I want to be clear about that. Psychological tactics is one way to abuse, financial abuse tactics, legal abuse tactics, right? The weaponization of children, physical violence, sexual violence, it's all there in coercion and control. When I can no longer control you, I'm going to move with psychological tactics. I'm going to move on to other ways to control you. And one of those ways might be physical violence, right? It might be as soon as you attempt to escape legal abuse in the court system, right? But the weaponization of children is the most heartbreaking. And if you're listening to me right now, you might be a parent who's been alienated, right? And abusers love to call the protective parent the alienator, when actually the children may not even want to go with the abuser because they're afraid, because that abuser is often aggressive, right? But sometimes the kids don't mind going, and they go and they come home and they are so dysregulated from that predatory parent. And so it's actually why I have a new book coming out every moment of every day. And it's about children who don't want to go and how do we help them with that process when the family court is forcing them to go, to someone's house they feel unsafe with. But if they don't go, who gets called the alienator, right? So you, as the protective safe parent, are not trying to maliciously fracture your child's attachment with the abuser. You are trying, if possible, to give them clarity about healthy versus unhealthy relationship dynamics. That's definitely what you're trying to do. And that's so vital to children, for them to have that understanding. But the predatory parent, what are they doing? Well, they are working your child over and over again. Their goal is to make your child see you as a betrayer, as unsafe, as someone they cannot trust, as someone who's maybe crazy, unhinged, that you're the cheater, that you're the liar, and I will tell you that this is definitely the narrative my children heard at the ages of 9 and 10. Now, I believe it started, as I say, it always starts day one. There's an undermining, a diminishing in some way. It doesn't have to be overtly aggressive or even overt. It can just be like, oh, too bad. Too bad mom's tired again, right? Or, seems like mom's having a tough day. I wonder if she's off her medication, right? So it can be things like that. It can be actually shrouded in worry, concern, right? Oh man, I wish mom didn't work so many hours. Or, wow, it's too bad mom didn't make your game again. Yeah, I'm worried about her, you know? So again, really understanding how insidious these abusers can be, and how their intent is definitely malevolent. And so we have to see it as that. And we have to understand that when our children are going off to that abuser's house, there is something going on there that is intended maliciously to harm their attachment to us.
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to share with you my protective parenting program. I hear from parents all the time that it's a game changer for them. It's really about creating opportunities for you to be almost like a therapist in the home for your child who is suffering coercive control. Lots of you know I wrote the book Every Moment of Every Day. It's a children's book to help children and protective parents as they navigate these situations where they're feeling overwhelmed and dysregulated. Beyond that, we need to be helping our children to understand what their body is telling them and also really looking through a coercive control lens at their experiences. It's time that we really understand that children are experiencing the same exact trauma that we experienced. How do we parent them differently? Our children are different as a result of this experience they've had, and we are different. And we have to truly look through the coercive control lens to support them. I hope you will join me in the Protective Parenting Program. It's offered live and self-study. And of course, I always hope that if there's anything I can do or any of my team members can do to support you, that you reach out.
I want you to really think about that. If you have children coming home dysregulated, if they're behaving badly with you, if they're allowed to do so much at that abuser's house and they're not allowed to do it here, or they're so oppressed at that abuser's house, they're angry and they come home and they don't even know how to handle natural life like circumstances, whether it's emptying the dishwasher, getting a job when you're 16 years old, going for your driver's permit, retaining a peer group because you have a love of, let's say, soccer, all of those things, an abuser is going to attempt to take away. Because if I take them away, I can control you better. A predatory parent wants to take away a child's agency, just like they did with you. That's their goal. That's what they want to do. So, how do we, in our own mind, get ourselves ready to create roadblocks to the false narrative that they're hearing, to this betrayal they're experiencing, our little ones are experiencing, or our big ones are experiencing? How do we create these roadblocks that really shift their perspective? That is not easy. It's a challenge for us it's a challenge for me to share with you from a clinical perspective that I'm asking you to be a little performative, because your brain is so harmed by that abuser. Your brain is so overwhelmed that when your child does come home dysregulated, you often feel like you don't have a choice. Like there's no ability to regulate. You react, right? Your child calls you a bad name. I have a mom just yesterday explaining that her daughter, for the first time ever at 13 years old, said, "Shut up, mom," really meanly. This mom is brokenhearted. She is devastated. And I'm like, oh, she's 13. This makes sense to me. This is the beginning of her reactiveness, of her inability to really contain the trauma she is experiencing when she's with that oppressor. And she's going to project it onto you. And so, how do we create an understanding of that and also create a better response? Instead of the response being, "This is awful, you've treated me this way," or "I know where," like your father used to say that all the time, or "How dare you," right? Or being devastated, reasonably so, reasonably so. What would happen if we took the opportunity to say something like, again, these are the roadblocks, right? What would happen if we said something like, "I'm sorry that it seems like there's a lot of anger right now. I'm here for you. I'm really here for you when you're ready." And so now this kid is not actually being emboldened to fight back, because the abuser wants your child to fight back. Let me be really clear. The abuser wants your child to fight back, because if your child fights back, the abuser's hopeful. The predatory parent is like, "Yes, let the protective parent fight back. Oh my gosh, the protective parent fights back, and now these two are not connecting at all. And that's the goal of the abuser: disconnect, lack of attachment. I'd like you to think about it this way. Predatory parents often have grown up in family systems where they didn't have an opportunity to securely attach because they were not loved unconditionally, and because they actually were never able to relax and just be themselves. Whenever they were angry or sad or upset, they were shamed over and over and over again. It's really a traumatic experience. People who are traumatized do not always become abusers, but the predatory parent is doing the same thing to your child. They are learning that they cannot express themselves. They are learning to regulate their behavior. They are learning they cannot be themselves. And so when they come home and they actually do unravel, and we get the worst of it, the very best thing we can do is be ready and waiting in a calm place. Know what they are hearing over there about us so that we can actually respond in a way that gives them an opportunity to let it go and to not be shamed. Super challenging. This is not easy for trauma victims. I am no way suggesting this is easy. And so, what would I say? Like, let's just do an example. Your child comes home, come to find out the abuser asked you, the predatory parent asked if they could take your child away for a weekend on your weekend time. And it's a tough toss. Whoa, you got to weigh the costs and benefits. Like, should I give in to this person or not? But in the meantime, you actually have plans, and your child knows this, to go away with your family for a getaway that particular weekend. The predatory parent did this all on purpose. It's all intentional. They knew that. Okay. And so now your child is being groomed at that other home to come home and force you to do this. And again, we have to weigh the cost benefits, because if you do not let your child go on the weekend with that abuser, the predatory parent, then your child is going to have to be angry with you. They're going to have to take it out on you. They have no choice. And if they don't get the task done, remember, these are soldiers, right? If they don't get the task done, then they go back to the predatory parent, and the predatory parent is now retaliating with them, disappointed in them, coercing them, telling them how horrible you are. Whatever it is, however it shows up, it is retaliation. It is punishment. So we have to weigh which one is better. Now, I mean, in a perfect world, your child has agency, which we have to teach them at a very young age, and they have to be able to say, no, dad, or no, predatory parent, whoever that is, I am not going. They have to be able to say that, but that's a perfect world. And that's a world where you saw this coming a long time ago. I never saw it coming a long time ago. You saw it coming a long time ago. This is why I do this, right? I didn't see it coming a long time ago. I am a protective parent. I'm a survivor. And that's why I created the protective parenting program. You saw it coming, and you know exactly what that abuser is setting you up for. And you handle it in a way where you can actually support your child in having agency, perhaps depending on their age and their ability to do so, or you can come up with a compromise. Maybe it's one day with the abuser, one day with you. Then the child isn't in this. And that's the whole point. When the child realizes that you get it, you know exactly what they're going through at that predatory parent's house. You know what's going on, and you're doing everything you can to support them. I'm on your team. I get this is hard. Let's figure out a plan. Is it better for you to go with dad? And we'll just we can move our weekend. I can be collaborative. I can compromise. I can figure this out if you can. Because in that, your child sees you as completely different than that predatory parent. No matter what they're hearing, they see, whoa, that protective parent gets it. They don't want me to be caught in the middle of this. And again, I'm not talking about being caught in the middle of a fight. I'm talking about they are literally the rope being pulled in two different directions. If you let go a little bit, they get to see you who you are. I hope that's helpful, everyone. You are doing the hardest work there is. I always say that protective parents are doing the hardest work there is. I think I have a cricket in my house. Anyway, I hope you all have a good day.
Thank you for listening to Perfect Prey, a Coercive Control podcast. You can find the show on my website at iknowyourheart.com or coercivecontrolconsulting.com, or subscribe to the show wherever you find your podcasts. I'd love your feedback, and I'm always looking for ideas on how to continue to expose coercive control as the significant harm and child abuse that it is. The best way to support the show is to rate and review Perfect Prey on Apple Podcasts. It helps others to find us. Perfect Prey is written by me, Dr. Christine Cocchiola, and with the help of my amazing team. Thank you, and have a great day, everyone.